So today I'm asking the question, what's in your backpack? If you've seen backpacks that kids carry around, you've seen some that are like so bogged down and heavy that you're thinking, how in the world is that good for their backs? It can't be good for their backs. Well, today we're not talking about physical backpacks or literal backpacks. We're talking about kind of emotional backpacks and things that we carry around in our backpacks. And I want to encourage you to empty out your backpack, see what you're carrying around, and see what you want to decide, see what you choose to put back in your backpack. So backpacks, we're all carrying a backpack on our backs, whether we like it or not. We may not see it, but we all carry one around. And I believe there are two different ways in our life that we are loading down ourselves with things that we don't really need to have in our backpack. Some things we can't help but have in our backpack, and most of the time we can choose whether or not we have something in our backpack or not. So the first thing that we fill our backpack with are things on our calendar, our time, what we do with our time. And I talk to so many people, and they're just telling me all these things they're going and doing, and it's just like, how are you surviving? How are you thriving if you have such a busy schedule and all you're doing is go, go, go? Now, I know that there are seasons of life where you go more than others, and those that are in the probably teenage years with your children, you probably go more than others in different seasons of your life. Sometimes you can't help it, but sometimes you can. When you decide to say, sure, I'll make some cookies for the bake sale that you're having for such and such, you're saying no to something else. You're saying no to your family. You're saying no to doing something that you enjoy. Or you could be saying no to a zillion other things. You could be saying no and filling your schedule, and you're not leaving any room in your schedule for when something that is absolutely, yes, I would love to do that. You're filling your schedule so full that when something comes along that you really would love to do, you don't have time to do it because you're too busy. And so many people these days, they feel like they have to say yes to everything. And I've talked to you before about the 4 questions to ask yourself before saying yes. Go back and watch that video if you need a refresher on that. I know I have to refresh myself on that a lot. But we don't have to say yes to everything. We can say no to things. And just because there is a need doesn't mean I'm the answer. I'll give you a for instance. A few weeks ago, a friend that I've done some side work for contacted me and asked me if I was interested in doing some work for her. Well, so I mulled it around and I was thinking, okay, the money would be good. I would love to have the extra cash, but that was the only positive thing. I would be taking away from family time. I would probably be stressing out more than I needed to be. So I chose to say no to her. And she probably could have used the help. Absolutely, she could have, but it wasn't a good fit for me. And years ago, I used to do web design, and when Dalton came into the picture, I had to decide what I wanted to do with my time. I chose to stay home with him, and so I had to cut some things out of my schedule. I still wanted to do the blogging that I do. I still wanted to be online with you guys, and I was doing the web design, so I had to decide to say no to the web design. Now, just because I said no for this season right now, that doesn't mean it's no forever. I might be able to go back and do it later if I choose to, and I might not want to choose to do it later. I probably won't ever go back to that, and it's okay to say no to things. What things are on your calendar that drain your energy, that aren't life-giving to you? What are those things? Maybe it's time to say no. I want you to think about the things that are on your schedule right now, maybe for the next week. Just think about them for a second. Are they life-giving to you? Are they draining to you? Do you dread going to them? Now, if we're talking about work and you hate your job, that's a whole different ball game. We've talked about that before, but I'm not talking about your work. I'm talking about extracurricular activities or extra things on your calendar. And sometimes we can't do all the things we want to because we've said yes to things that we don't want to do. Now, when you say no to something, this is just a little side note. When you say no, the word no is a complete sentence. If Gloria comes up to you and says, "Hi, Tshanina, can you make cookies for the bake sale that we have next week?" First of all, you don't have to say yes or no right then. But second of all, you can come back to her and just say, "I'm sorry, no, that's not going to work with my schedule." You don't have to give a reason of, "No, I just don't have time to do that. We have family stuff going on," and yada, yada, yada. Just say, "I'm sorry, no, that's not going to work." And it may be hard for you to do that at first, but once you get the hang of it, I promise you that it'll get easier. So what is on your calendar? What are you filling your time with that's in your backpack that you need to say no to? You need to take it out and just not do it anymore. Now, the second thing is draining people that drain you, or unhealthy relationships in your life. I've had draining relationships in my life, and years ago I went to a counselor. I'm not ashamed to admit that because I think everybody needs to go see a counselor, and she was so helpful. And she is the first person that made me think of this backpack, the backpack scenario. And she would always say, "That's not in your backpack, Tshanina. You don't need to worry about that." And draining and unhealthy relationships was part of that. And I had to deal with that. Now, let me tell you a scenario. A few years ago, I had a friend, and she called me up and said, "I need your help. I need you to come, and I just need somebody to talk to." So I went over to her house, and we chatted for quite a while, and she told me what was going on, and I listened. And then, if you've ever talked to me, you know that I like to fix things or help you fix your problems. So I'm not just going to leave it alone. So I gave her some steps that she needed to take in her life and that were going to be healthy for her to move forward. Well, she decided that she didn't want to take those steps. She wanted to make her problems my problem. And it was not a emotionally healthy situation for me. And so I eventually had to step away because it wasn't my problem. Her problem wasn't my problem, and she wanted me to make that my problem. And so as hard as it was, I just had to step back. Now, that doesn't mean I can't still be friends with this person, but that just tells me how much time I need to spend with this person. And it's hard because sometimes the draining and unhealthy relationships that we have are family members. And we can't really step away from most of those relationships. So you just have to decide how much time you can spend with those people in your life. That doesn't mean you can't love on them. That doesn't mean you can't help them. But it just lets you know how much time you can spend with them at once. They may be an hour friends or family. They may be a 24-hour friends or family. That means that's how much time you can spend with them before just really getting drained. Some of those people are probably not people you're going to go on vacation with. So figure out the draining or unhealthy relationships that are in your life. Maybe you need to step back from those. And if they're family members, maybe you need to decide how much time to spend with them. Here's a question for you. Are you making their problems your problems? That's a great question to ask yourself. Because if you are making their problems your problems, there's a large problem. And you need to probably step away and give yourself some boundaries with that relationship. I love this. I read this a few days ago. You're not responsible for other people's happiness. I couldn't choose to make my friend happy from years ago. She had to choose for herself to do the steps that were necessary to have a healthier life. She didn't want to take those steps. So I couldn't choose the happiness for her. She had to choose it for herself. So those are just two things. What is in your backpack? I've learned now through the years after I went to my counselor and just with life that, for instance, if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, what about so-and-so? She's having some issues. You'll hear me say, that's not in my backpack. That means that that's great that she has those problems going on. I'll be glad to help her, but it's not my problem to worry about. And so many times we take on other people's problems when we don't need to. Like I said, that doesn't mean we can't love people or help people, but just learn what to put in your backpack. Your backpack is weighed down with so many things, and most of the time, for me personally, they are things that are unnecessary for us to have. We don't need to have them in our lives, and we can let go or say no or just cut them out. So that's why I'm asking you what's in your backpack. I encourage you today to empty your backpack and figure out what you want to put back in. What do you want to put back in your backpack? Now, a few resources that I have for you. If you do not know what to say yes to and no to, you could go back and watch the video that I have, the 4 questions to ask yourself before saying yes. You could read the book, The Best Yes by Lysa TerKeurst. I know I've recommended that before. That's an awesome, awesome book, and I want you to check it out. And then another book that you could check out if you're having problems with unhealthy relationships or people that are draining you, a fabulous book for you to check out is Boundaries by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. That's a great book, and it will help you just learn how to deal with those and figure out relationships. So that's what I want to share with you today. What's in your backpack? What can you unload today and get out of there and give your shoulders a little lighter load to carry? Take care. That's all I have to share with you. I'll see you soon.